Well, welcome back, and we're going to be talking now about the fifth step of the group success system, retention and servicing groups. Probably the very most important step. We've talked about getting leads. We've talked about prospecting companies, the posture that's needed. We've talked about decision-maker meetings where you show up and go through the proposal. We've had a great training on enrollments and writing up the employees, the payday of the system. But this is really the long-term residual income of the system where you create a mindset to take care of the assets you've created. And just like if you owned property, like a home or a rental apartment complex, that's an asset that you would want to take care of, correct? You wouldn't want to just check on your apartment complex every 6 years or so. You'd want to monitor and have steps in place that assure that your asset is taken care of. Like many of us take care of our home because it's an asset that we have and we want to make sure it maintains its value. Same thing is true with group marketing. You have two assets in group marketing. The groups that you are opening are assets in your business, and second of all, the memberships that you write. So you want to have a system in place to take care of both of them. Let's talk about just some retention tips that will help you increase your retention amount. Now, there's two forms of retention that you can kind of look at prepaidlegal.com. One is your rolling persistency. This is the Players Club retention rate. Rolling persistency means if I have 10 members at the beginning of the year, 2 of them cancel, but I write 2 more members, I have 100% rolling persistency. Now, that's a good one to look at, and you need to maintain that over 75% to get Players Club bonuses, but it's not really what your retention rate is. There's another report inside your report section of prepaidlegal.com, and it's your actual retention percentages. How many members that you wrote a year ago, the 10, how many of them are still on now a year later? Or how many of those 10 that you wrote 2 years ago still own the membership today? And that's really the real retention rate that you want to be looking at. And here's your goal: increase it. Get higher retention rates. Stay focused on building a large group of active memberships. So we've talked about the mindset of not using the word cancel and things like that in enrollment. All of those things will increase your retention rate and build an active membership base. And that helps create that residual income that we're talking about of $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 a year renewal income that many, many associates in Prepaid Legal receive. Never use the word cancel or promote this feature. Call members on your pre-cancel report every week. I can tell you the associates in our team with the highest persistency rate have a habit of every Friday or every Monday pulling their pre-cancel. Again, it's not an activity that most of us probably enjoy, but every Friday I call every person that shows up on my pre-cancel report, and I just save members. Some of these members are showing up there and they don't want to cancel the membership. Their credit card's expired or something like that's happened. And on top of me personally contacting those, I also subscribe to MAS, the Membership Advantage service, where for $5.95 they take out of your commission. They now employ nearly 100 people at the home office of Prepaid Legal to manage your retention and help members stay on the service. And anytime I can spend less than $6 to employ 100 people, that's a good deal. Send a Prepaid Legal postcard to every member. I know Linda Pitt does this, and many of our top associates, Dave Gilday, sends out a postcard to every member that they write, and those are available from Prepaid Legal. Again, just a retention tip gives you that retention advantage. Address problems quickly and completely. The same energy we use to enroll a big group, where one guy looks over and sees someone filling it out and he goes and fills it out. That same energy happens the opposite way if one of them has a problem and you don't fix that problem quickly. I've had situations where one firefighter at a fire department gets upset about something and they spread that word fast. It's like a wildfire, and you got to address problems quickly and completely, nip it out so that that doesn't create a cancer in that group. Use posters in employee break rooms. These also are available from Prepaid Legal, a nice benefit poster that you can hang up. It does two things. It has your contact information for someone that might want to use or get the benefit that might not already be a member, but more important, it is a reminder to all the active members in that group to what? Use their membership. So any ways you can show, hey, remember you have a plan that does these types of things, that's going to help create retention. Know what your retention rate is and always look for ways to improve it. knowledge is power in this area. You need to know what it is. This is really, for most of us, what our goal is to build a big group of active members and have a long-term residual income. And it's silly to think you can do that without knowing the number, without knowing how you're really doing in that area. So you have to kind of face the facts sometimes, look at that retention and say, hey, I can do better than 50%. I can do better than 70%. And get with people that are in the company that have super high retention rates and learn from them and look for ways to improve your retention rate. Just to give you an example here, if you wrote 1,000 memberships, that's how many you wrote, and you had a retention rate of about 50%, that would give you an annual income based on executive director of about $26,000 a year. Now take that same book of business and you have an 80% retention rate, which would be a good goal to have, 80% of that book staying on. So you had to write the same amount of memberships, so the time invested is exactly the same, but you're working on higher retention rates, and it's usually these 1%ers that make a big difference. It's not one thing that makes 20% difference. It's 20 things that make a 20% difference. But at 80% retention rate, same book of business that you sold initially pays you $41,000. And again, back to just basic math, $41,000, a person making $41,000 a year has a little better lifestyle than someone making $26,000 a year. And if you went higher than that, 100% give you a $52,000 a year income. So you can see the results of retention have a direct impact on your paycheck long term.
All right, servicing tips. This is kind of what the home office requires, okay? And then I'm going to go into some of the things that I think that I am going to do for special things, okay? And we'll go over that. So number one, service your groups at least every 12 months, more often for larger groups. So that is the requirement from the home office, okay? Once a year you have to service the group. Groups can be reassigned if there's no production for 24 months. So, you want to make sure that there's memberships being written, because you surely don't want the home office to take your group and give it to somebody else, right? You just spent all that hard work and time, so that's one thing. Leave new employee packets with the HR director or HR person, so that when they hire new people, they can fill out the packets and then send the new enrollments to you so that you can send them in, all right, because you're going to make sure they're filled out completely. Use posters in the break room, which is an awesome idea, and annual gifts to key people, and I'm going to come back to that. I believe, as you'll hear this over and over again in the company, we have to develop ourselves, self-development. And so really we need to be attending the advanced product training sessions. We need to be attending the group schools. We need to be attending Super Saturdays. We have to continue education. Think about it. We're professionals, right? Your accountant, your CPA has to get CPUs every year. Your attorneys have to get continuing education every year. Your doctors have to have medical units, education units every year. And so if they have to, it just makes sense that we also should be continuing our education. So that's why we talk about advanced product training in other group schools. Flowers to bookkeepers at the end of the year or periodically, and I'm going to cover that as well. All right, now you have Linda. This is Linda's. And I did a lot of traveling with my pharmaceutical company, and I would leave on a Monday, get back on a Friday. So I stayed a lot in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Marriott. And what I love, why I title this Linda at Your Service, is because when I was at the Marriott and I needed anything, I would call a number and it would be this wonderful female voice at the end. She'd say, "Hi, Miss Pitt, it's Ethel at your service." I thought I got the biggest kick out of that. I'm like, oh, that is really cool. It's Ethel at my service. So I try to take that mentality that I am Linda at your service. So think back. I want you to think, when was the last time you had great customer service? And what is it? What prompted you to say, hey, man, they had awesome customer service? More than likely, they called you by name, right? They knew a lot about you, about your family personally, took an interest in you, made you feel that you were their number one customer, that you were number one in their life. and that your business meant everything to them. And their focus was entirely on you and not on the next sale or the next customer coming through the door. And they will go above and beyond the call of duty to make you comfortable. All right, so that's how I looked at it. And it was to the point where the people at the Marriott in Knoxville, when I would drive up, and if there was one of their people, one of their staff members coming out, and I mean, this actually happened to me. I'm on the phone with my husband. I hear, "Hey, Miss Pitt, hey, great to see you." I mean, this was a customer service person at the front desk that would check me in every day. And it was awesome. And Rob's like, "Man, what is this, your second family?" I said, "Honey, unfortunately, yes, it is for right now." So they knew exactly what room I wanted, where I wanted to be placed in the hotel. I mean, it was super, just a super feeling. So that's what I try to do. So what's going to make us different from other vendors? Now, this is right now because I'm new, right? Don't have a lot of groups. However, I think it's important that you do quarterly visits to your group. Every 90 days, I feel you should be in your new groups, if they're of a substantial size. But seriously, just to stop in, to say, hey, and check it out, make sure people are using the benefit. Also, I was talking with one of my groups, and do you know why we want to go in 90 days? Because especially if they have substantial turnover, it takes our new employees 90 days to get through that initial phase before they're allowed to sign up for any benefits. So you're going in every 90 days to get a whole new crop of enrollment. So I feel it's very important that you go every 90 days. Make sure their wills are done. Great time to ask for referrals when you're in there. Get your referral letters as well. Gifts to the payroll clerk. I say do this before, during, and after the sale. All right. Picture frame for if you do ADRS, I have now put the certificate in a picture frame, and I have them hang it on their wall. It's awesome because when they have their vendors and suppliers coming in, because according to the ADRS, they're going to have to be compliant. They're going to be able to see that, and who do you think they're going to call? Because those vendors and suppliers absolutely do not know who to call for compliance. They're going to be calling Linda Pitt, all right? I put my card, I give temporary memberships kits, and now the second company that I feel I get very good service from is my Allstate agent. And she sends me a birthday card every year. I mean, it's just something little. Now, I know that this woman has thousands of clients. And yet she's probably got it automated, but she does send me a birthday card, handwritten note in the card. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be great? When I reach that point, I can go that extra step to send out a birthday card, because, I mean, we do know their birthdays, right? It's right there on the application. You know, it wouldn't be too hard to make an Excel sheet and have the months, you know, have your members by month. You know, so you pull up all the January birthdays and you're able to fire out a birthday card. It doesn't have to be on their birthday, but it's in the month of their birthday. I mean, how cool is that? You know, and I just thought that I felt really special and had a really good warm feeling about that. Now, I'm going to talk to you about these cookies, all right? What I did is I have gotten these cookie tins with our logo, Harvard Risk Management, on the logo, all right? And inside, right now there's a variety of cookies, but I also brought order forms for you. This is what I'm going to give my clients either at Thanksgiving or Christmas, you know, so I'm going to pick a holiday to give them to stand out from my competition, right? And the cool thing is because people love treats, and it has our logo on, and I'm going to be able to go back on my 90-day tour, right? And I'm sure there's going to be a holiday in those 90 days, and I can refill my tin. And I can refill it with candy. I can refill it with popcorn. I can refill it with anything. And the cool thing is that they're going to make sure they keep my tin with our logo, right, and our cards, so that it's a constant reminder of who we are and how to get in touch with us. So I thought this was an awesome idea. And that's why I brought these in for you all. Taste the cookies. They're homemade, and we'll go from there. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what else, how this prompted, and where I use it. I told you about how constant reminder, go in every 90 days, and you actually have a reason to go in. I mean, okay, it's a silly one, but you're in the door and you're out there talking to people. It's anywhere to get through the door, right? Okay, let me tell you how else I use these tins. And this happened with a company I'm working with. And I went in, did the presentation, and the next day, I mean, I had the enrollment scheduled, okay, for 16 locations. And then after the next day, after my presentation, the HR director gets fired, okay? I get the call over the weekend, HR's fired. Man, you're going to have to start over, you know, you have to wait. And so I waited, and I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, what am I going to do? So I call, I'm thinking, you know, what can I do? And I call the HR assistant who had just gone to a meeting on ADRS. I found that out. So she's frantically trying to figure out how she's going to get compliant. I said, hey, this is Linda Pitt, Harvard Risk Management. I just wanted to double check. I'm supposed to come in tomorrow, start some enrollments. And, you know, I also wanted to let you know I'm here to help you become compliant, to start the compliance policy. And she's like, oh, that's great. So I'm not letting her know that I know the HR director was fired, okay? I want her to tell me. So she tells me. I said, oh, okay, so well, we're going to still continue, right? And I'll still be in there. And she goes, well, we have to pass this through the CFO. I said, okay. And so she said, so she goes, hold on. She talks to CFO. She emails me. Says CFO says he'll be out of town for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll get back with you. Well, I'm like, that's like the warning signals going off that, oh, this CFO is not going to let me in. So I'm trying to be creative on how I can get to him. I know he's going out of town for 2 weeks, so I sent him a nice little travel kit because he's going to have to be eaten. He's going to have some munchies on his way. So I sent the card. The card says, Tim, take these with you while you're out of town to, you know, and we'll get back when you get, you know, we'll get together when you get back. So something like that is what the card said. Then I call Tim, who I'd never even spoke to, the CFO, the day he got the cookies. So I call him. I said, hey, Tim, it's Linda Pitt, Harvard Risk Management. Just wanted to make sure you got my cookies. He said, oh, Linda, my staff loves you. And I'm like, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I'm like, great, Tim. Well, you know, Tim, they really were for you, you know, to take with you. And he says, no, that's okay. He goes, but I'm really excited. And I briefly told him about the being the compliance and the identity theft issues. He said, man, I can't wait to talk with you. I said, well, okay, take those cookies. I'll see you in 2 weeks. So cookies helped for me. This is how it helped, all right? And then I was able to go back in, and when I went in the next time for the appointment, Tim, I found out, loves red velvet. So I brought in gourmet red velvet cupcakes because, I mean, I'm trying to find out because I'm like, whatever I can do to set myself apart and to get them to remember that, hey, I'm taking the extra steps to come in. So doing little things like that will, I believe, get you in the door.